face value, you could look at the agent and think, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, thin on capability, non-committal to transformation, and not actually involved in anything meaningful. And where I think technology can be interesting is that using all the data that is available on the internet and the World Wide Web, you can use AI automation to try and identify what the key signals of organizations that are truly transforming are doing. Right? You could use that to be able to create a very clear metric that algorithms and data can be verified that certain businesses are actually transforming correctly. With that information, you can create a ledger on the blockchain that is untouchable and undisputable, that those organizations have been able to do the right things and therefore are the ones that are transforming correctly. With that kind of data security, nobody can tamper with that. With that kind of data security, you can't fudge the results and the outcomes. And with that, you can hold agencies and other businesses more accountable. We all know that when you're submitting for tenders, opportunities, etc., there's hacks around becoming level 1 overnight with funny trust structures and all the rest of it. And so you use this technology to make sure you weed all of that out, and you have a very clear way that you can make sure that people are accountable.
Yeah, before I hand over to the members of the audience, AI, the theme AI, and most people are thinking, gee, am I going to be disrupted? You already are disrupted.
Right.
Am I going to be displaced?
Yes.
Maybe some of the outputs are already displaced. In your lived experience,
yes,
and you being at the forefront in terms of thinking of AI capabilities and what is required of us, what is the message to people sitting here, and what is your organization doing about it? Because one example is Tiger Brands agency coming to you saying that you can't be charging us this much for copywriting, and I'm just saying this as I go, because I used to look after Doom. So you can't be charging us for this output in terms of creativity, because Canva can do it, because Bard can do it.
yes.
Or in terms of copyright, why don't we ask whoever to do it and then we just polish it, and therefore the race will come back, as an example. So how are you, responding to that, encapsulating that, and perhaps as an advice?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think a lot of people are reflecting on this in various different ways. So firstly, I agree with you. I think the horse is bolting, and so the principle that you have to catch up. If you think you have to catch up, you probably have to catch up, because it is shifting. I think OpenAI said that the next version of ChatGPT is going to be 150 times better than the current version of ChatGPT, right? And the current version blows people's minds. So the horse is bolting. I think what is important, especially in service businesses like ours, is that there is a fundamental shift away from the things that informed our business models to better ways of thinking about value creation. In an agency work context, very practically, you mentioned the copywriting thing, which is true. We've been running some tests to see if it is distinguishable when you have a creative output that comes out of a machine versus one that comes out of a team. So over the last 8 months, our team has been briefing specific projects through a process that we have that uses AI, and we've been comparing that to projects that have been done by human beings and seeing if there was a difference. And we are now at the point where we can show a piece of work to a client and they can't distinguish that this has come from AI and this has come from a human team, right? That's important. It's important. Why? Because unless you tell them that there's a difference, they won't know. And so the back-end process is important to think about, because in the beginning, in our world anyway, it took us 42 days to get from getting a brief to being production ready. And that was our timeline. And we were fast, right? We were one of the quicker agencies. You can get anything up to 60, 90 days, right? And when I gave the inspiration to my team to say, can we do all of this in 4 or 5 days? 8 months ago, they said to me, impossible. And I said, well, let's try. And so the journey we've been on is to get from 45 days down to 5 days. And I'm very happy to report that we can do it now probably in about 3 hours, excluding client intervention. That's the problem. The delay is when the client has to approve. But we can get from brief to a fully fleshed out campaign in 3 hours. Right? We do it, we call it AI Saturdays. So we've been able to do it for the last 8 Saturdays consecutively. So the reality is, yeah. Now what's been interesting is when I brought the team together to try this out, there was very clear laggards who don't even know what ChatGPT is. They've got no clue. And then got the very advanced ones who have been doing this for a while. When I put them all in a room and we ran this process for the first time, it was interesting to see the light bulbs start to switch on with people that didn't fully understand what I meant by being able to cut down the time. So think about the historical way you put together a brief, right? A client will send you a random message, a voice note. Hey, we need to launch ABC. It must be cool and it must trend. Send. Right? That's the brief from the client.
True story.
True story. Yeah. So now you receive this brief as an agency person, right? What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to respond and say, we need a written out brief, client. Please use this template. Yeah. Client's going to get irritated and they're going to go, this agency is useless. And so they're not going to say anything for 3 or 4 days. Then 3 or 4 days have passed, and then they're going to come back and they're going to say, where's my brief? And then you're going to write it for the client. Now, because you're like, okay, I can see they're taking this seriously. I better write version 1. You write the version 1, you send it to client. Now, client takes another 3 days to look through it because you didn't hear what I said. You must change, I must this, and then they give you feedback. 7 days later, you've now got a brief, right? Now the brief is there and you put it into the system. What's the first thing you go through? Strategy. What does the strategy team say? Oh, we need to speak to the client to find out what exactly they want to do. But you've now taken 7 days to write the brief. Now must research, you must understand. Right? And so it goes, and so it goes, and so it goes. That's 14 days, not a single output. Right? Not even closer to a better version of your first prompt. And so when I took our team that had that as a lived experience, and I showed them by clarity you can get from 0 to a great brief in 3 minutes, it completely blew their minds. Now, what it does mean is that you have to now know what to prompt the AI. That becomes the goal. The goal now is what are you asking it to do for you? And that's where the shift in skills is very important, because previously you didn't have to do that. As an account manager, account whatever it is, you just had to pound it on to someone else. Now, you, my friend, have to learn how to ask the right question to be able to get the correct brief. And so when they realize that that's what needs to happen, you can automatically now start seeing how much time they could be saving themselves. And so for me, that becomes important, because I did the same exercise with our creative team. I said, creatives, copywriting is probably the wrong example, because that one is just going to kill them altogether. But when it comes to visualization, DALL-E and those platforms now creating visuals that are near lifelike, I said to them, let's assume that in a world where you don't have to do any of the stuff that took up 80% of your time, and I said, I'm going to gift you back 80% of your time. What are you going to do with that time? Right? I asked them that, and they didn't know. They didn't know. They couldn't answer the question. If I said to you, on Monday morning you come to work and all the stuff you used to do, you don't have to do, but you still have to be a great creative, what are you going to do? And that's what we're not interrogating. We're not interrogating in the absence of me having to do all the stuff I used to be able to do because of technology. What should I be doing now? And so the provocation is always about where are the areas of value that should be created for your clients. When I look at client service, I tell them that they need to be shifted to become orchestrators. Orchestrators are, you can bring a client into a conversation, you can bring agency partners into a conversation, you can bring research partners into a conversation, you can bring technology into a conversation, and you can facilitate an outcome. That is a value-adding exercise that AI won't be able to do tomorrow. When you think about the creatives, I think if you're a creative and we're wanting to get amazing work out of you, spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours writing many, many lines of one expression of a creative platform is not good use of your time. Go and find the areas that you believe create stimulus in your brain. What are the things that fire your synapses? Are you the kind of creative that likes to watch Napoleon Bonaparte, and that creates something? That's what you should be doing, right? Because that's where the value is going to be coming from that AI can't replicate. So I think that the lived experience of knowing exactly what they need to do and understanding how the technology works has pushed people a little bit further. But my fear is that not everybody is having those dialogues and those conversations. And when we are not having those dialogues and those conversations, then the probability of being replaced, displaced, etc., I think it's much higher. Yeah.
Cool. I think that I've spoken enough. I see Alan here has been dying to ask the question. Alan,